And boom goes the dynamite.
Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media. I am Ross Bolen, coming to you at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on the day that is known as the trade deadline, with 2.5 hours left for Dana Brown to make moves. But first, let's talk about the Astros' 3-game series against the Washington Nationals, where they seemed to get back on track offensively, scoring 17 runs, 16 of which came during games 2 and 3 on Tuesday and Wednesday, after scoring 7 runs in 4 games against the Athletics. The bats were working again. That was nice. That was very nice. Rewinding to Game 1 of the series against the Nationals, Framber Valdez went 6 strong innings with 12 strikeouts, giving up 3 hits and 1 earned run in his final frame. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough, as the Astros only mustered 4 hits themselves, scoring a single solitary run in the bottom of the 5th inning with a Mauricio Dubon double, bringing home Yanier Diaz. And that was it. That was it. Then Riley Adams hit a solo ding-dong off Brian King in the 7th. Game over. Astros lose 2-1. Now, Framber Valdez was visibly upset after the game and communicated through his translator that essentially he didn't believe he should have given up the 1 run he did, and that the outfield was improperly positioned to defend against batter Nathaniel Lowe when he was at the plate. A right fielder shouldn't be in center field, in Framber's opinion. And frankly, it's hard to disagree with that sentiment given the outcome of a double to right, which drove in what proved to be a pivotal run. Now, we all know Framber can be a fiery guy, and personally, I don't really have anything against him sharing his frustrations in a post-game presser. However, the more mature and team-friendly move would obviously be to communicate with management directly, like an adult professional. But yeah, all in all, not a big deal. Nothing to worry about. Just Framber being Framber. And apparently Espada met with Framber the next day to make sure the air was cleared. Nothing to see here. The Stros turned things around in Game 2 against the Nationals with Cam Smith driving in a run, Yanier Diaz hitting a solo ding-dong, Cooper Hummel driving in a run, Altuve driving in a run, Christian Walker driving in 2 runs, and Taylor Trammell driving in a run. 13 hits, 7 runs scored, and that was enough for a 7-4 win, with Jason Alexander giving the team 14 outs on the bump, and then Sousa, King, Abreu, and Hader closing things out. That win ended a 5-game losing streak. Much fucking needed. In Game 3, things opened up a bit more. Cam Smith drove in the first run with a sac fly in the opening frame. Altuve hit a 3-run ding-dong in the second. Cooper Hummel went yard for 2 in the 6th inning. And Yanier Diaz closed out the scoring with a 3-run blast of his own in the 6th for a 9-1 Astros win. Ryan Gusto was fantastic in this game. Was very, very good to see, going 6 full innings, yielding only 1 earned run and 4 hits with 5 strikeouts and a walk. Big props to Gusto for bouncing back after he gave up 8 runs in 3 innings and got his dick kicked in against the Athletics. Neris, Okert, and Contreras closed things out against the Nationals in Game 3. One of the most encouraging performances in the Nationals series came from one Yanier Diaz, who has been less than impressive, in stretches at least, this season, and really woke up at the plate with 5 hits, 2 ding-dongs, 4 RBIs across 3 games. His average is back up above 250. He's got 15 homers on the year to go with 44 ribbies, and apparently he really did not want to get traded, as his name had started floating around online earlier in the week. If we can see more consistency from Yanier offensively, it'll be a hell of a lot less difficult to swallow the pill that prevents him from being capable of gunning down stealing runners at second. I'm a big Yanier fan. He's clearly an offense-first catcher, and I have missed seeing him be the threat we all expected him to be this season offensively. Really, 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 really hope he keeps it rolling in the Red Sox series. So for now, welcome back, Yanir Diaz. All in all, it was clearly a successful series against the Nats. The boys are sitting at 62 wins and 47 losses, back to 15 games over 500, 5-5 over their last 10. Still maintaining a 5-game lead over the Mariners and the Rangers, just 2 games back of first place outright in the American League, where the Blue Jays and Tigers are currently tied at 64 and 46. Oh, and I should mention, we finally broke the hellacious streak of 18 consecutive games allowing opponents to score first. Thank fuck. So after all that dog shit, after a roller coaster of ups and downs over the course of July, which included both sweeping the Dodgers in LA and getting swept by the goddamn Guardians and Athletics at home, and enduring a season-high 5-game losing streak, we're kind of okay still? I think a 7-game lead is the largest we've had over the AL West this season, if I'm not mistaken. So to have only shaved 2 games off that during what was by and large a disastrous July, you have to feel pretty good about that, right? I feel pretty good about that. Things felt so much worse than they actually got. So now let's get to the trade deadline and some less than exciting news regarding Isaac Paredes and his hamstring, which was apparently torn and will require 6 to 7 months of rehabilitation. So obviously, we can't expect to see our starting third baseman Isaac Paredes and our most productive and prominent offensive weapon this season, Isaac Paredes, until opening day of next season, which is a massive, massive L and bummer. As such, Dana Brown traded some minor league single-A pitcher with the first name Twine to the Baltimore Orioles in exchange for third baseman Ramon Urias. Raymond? R-A-M-O-N? Raymond. Now, this isn't exactly the splash many of us have been hoping for, but from what I have gathered and learned about Ramon Urias over the past few hours, this is a good move. It's a good move. It's fine. This is good. Think of Raymond as an infield-specific Swiss Army knife a la Mauricio Dubon, except without the outfield that Mauricio Dubon obviously covers as well. The point is he's a utility guy. He can play second, he can play third, he can fill holes caused by injury, and theoretically, when the team is at full strength or hopefully somewhere near it next season, with Paredes back, he'll move to the bench until such a hole should need filling. We've got him under club control through next season. He can fill the hole we have at third for the time being, obviously, which is much needed. We desperately needed someone to play the hot corner, and he can do it very effectively. He's quite good at third base. He's not just some slapdick. He's a good third baseman. Better than good. And he costs jack shit to acquire, most importantly. No offense to Twine. So not a big splash. Not a big splash, but a nice little move here from Dana Brown to fill a hole that had to be filled. Now, the downside for some of you is that this does seem to put a damper on hopes that Carlos Correa, the Carlos Correa crowd had on bringing him home, which frankly, I had kind of talked myself into. I had talked myself into the Correa thing, and as of this morning, Bob Nightingale was reporting that the trade talks between the Astros and Twins regarding Carlos Correa were quote-unquote all but dead. The Astros wanted the Twins to pay $50 million of the $102 million Correa has left on his contract, and the Twins said fuck off. So that seems like it was pretty much that. Unfortunately, the Seattle Mariners picked up Eugenio Suarez, who I believe was on their team already once. They picked him back up to play third base in exchange for 3 of their top 20 prospects. So we will have to deal with Suarez, that fucker, the rest of the season. It's not great. I would also note, the Astros have club control over Isaac Paredes for 2 more seasons after this one, and he obviously still qualifies as a huge win for Dana Brown as part of the Kyle Tucker trade, which also brought in Cam Smith and Hayden Wesneski. Although, admittedly, it hurts that 2 of those 3 players are done for the year. Cam Smith, stay healthy. For the love of all that is good and decent, please, sir, protect yourself. So, as far as trade deadline moves go, that's all we've got so far, with just a couple more hours on the clock here for Dana Brown. I'm looking at Twitter. I'm checking it actively to make sure nothing is happening as I am talking. And so far, nothing. So there are still reports that the Astros are in talks to grab a starting pitcher, either Dylan Cease or Sandy Alcantara, either of which would be welcomed additions and give us a solid number 3 behind Framber and Hunter Brown, as well as reports that the Astros are interested in Guardians left fielder Stephen Kwan. But it's a seller's market this season, and everyone we are interested in, all of the names that have been floated over the past couple of weeks, they're going to have multiple suitors across the league. So we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, at least we have a proper third baseman. That is obviously huge. It would not shock me, frankly, if we don't make any other moves, considering how many guys we have on the cusp of returning from the injured list, which, on that note, in other infield news, Jeremy Pena should be joining the Astros in Boston this weekend for their 3-game series against the Red Sox to open up August after going 1 for 4 and hitting a ding-dong in 7 innings of play at shortstop for the Space Cowboys on Wednesday. Rocking my Space Cowboys hat today. Have to represent the backup boys, have to represent everything that the Space Cowboys have done for the Houston Astros this season. But yeah, Wednesday, Pena had 7 innings of play at short, hit a homer, looks good. Expect him back for this Red Sox series. It'll be huge to get Pena back, obviously. We've been missing his offensive production, but he will also continue to solidify what has been a shaky infield for weeks as well. We should have Walker at first, Dubon at second, Pena at short, and Urias at third for the Boston series. That's a big league infield compared to what we have been rolling out the last couple weeks. In other good news, Christian Javier made his 4th rehab start for the Space Cowboys yesterday. Also appears to be nearing a return to the Astros. Not clear entirely on if Javier is going to require another rehab start, but the messaging has consistently seemed to indicate over the past month that Spencer Arrighetti will return before Christian Javier. And on that note, Spencer Arrighetti will make 1 more rehab start and likely join the Astros for their series against the Marlins. So that's the series after the Red Sox series. So I would be kind of surprised to see Javier back before Arrighetti based on the information that we have been getting vis-a-vis the internet. So expect to see Arrighetti for the Marlins series. Maybe Javier joins for that series as well, maybe the one after it. JP France is in Sugar Land as of a couple of days ago to close out his rehab as well. So in the next couple weeks, we're going to be getting some much-needed pieces back from the IL, particularly in the pitching department. And with Pena, Yordan Alvarez has been in the batting cages, hitting pitches thrown by coaches. But who the hell knows what's happening there? Remember earlier this season when I said I wasn't going to focus on injury updates every week anymore? Particularly because I was annoyed by what was going on with Yordan. And then injuries became such an overwhelming part of the season that I've had to discuss them every single week for like a month straight. What fun we're having. But that will do it for today's show. Remember, we have new episodes dropping every Monday and Friday on youtube.com/@bangingthecan. This week is a little bit different because of 2 things. 1, the trade deadline, and 2, I'm going on vacation. Daddy needs a break. So I'll be gone Friday. I will also be gone Monday. You will only get 1 episode of Banging the Can next week, and it will likely be on Friday. Okay? Scheduling changes, and I'll post those on social media as well to remind y'all. So typically, we drop Mondays and Fridays. This week, we did Monday and Thursday. Next week, it's going to be wonky. I will not be around to be recording on Monday, so it's likely you'll only get 1 episode, and it will be Thursday or Friday, depending on how quickly I can get things turned around. So On that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. You should also follow us on social media. We are at Banging the Can on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads. All of those locations will give you updates as far as scheduling, programming, new episodes dropping, social media clips and takes that I fire off while I'm watching the games, particularly on Twitter. So at Banging the Can on all the social platforms. If you're an F1 fan, check out Bolen Media's F1 programming on a show known as Formula Bone, hosted by Jared J. Bone Borislow. You can watch on youtube.com/@FormulaBone. It's also available on the podcast platforms. If you love F1, you will love Formula Bone. It gives you a recap and a preview of every race all season long. Check out Oysters, Clams, and Cockles if you're a TV and film fan. It's a show that I've started almost 10 years ago now with another Houstonian, Barrett Dudley, as my co-host. We talk about the best shows on TV and sometimes movies as well. We just finished coverage of The Bear Season 4. We're actually jumping into doing The Wire Season 1 next. We've been talking about stuff like The Gilded Age recently as well. Check out Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever you do your can banging. And then for more from me specifically, check out the Ross Bolen podcast, where I talk about random news, comedy stuff, mental health, life, so on and so forth. I am Ross Bolen. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolen. I will be back next week to discuss any other trade deadline moves, if there are any, and the Cubs series as well. I'm checking Twitter one more time just to see, and nothing. So, wouldn't shock me if we don't see anything else from Dana Brown before the deadline is official in the next couple hours, but you never know. You never know. Last-second deals do get made. Keep your ear to the streets, your eyes to the heavens. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.